Welcome to PullyMinistries Audio Babble. It's the conclusion of the book of Numbers. While the Israelites were camped at Acacia Grove, some of the men defiled themselves by having sexual relationships with local Moabite women. These women invited them to attend sacrifices to their gods, so the Israelites feasted with them and worshipped the gods of Moab. In this way, Israel joined in the worship of Baal of Peor, causing the Lord's anger to burn against his people. The Lord issued the following command to Moses: "Seize all the ringleaders and execute them before the Lord in broad daylight, so his fierce anger will turn away from the people of Israel." So Moses ordered Israel's judges: "Each of you must put to death the men under your authority who have joined in worshiping Baal of Peor." Just then, one of the Israelite men brought a Midianite woman into his tent, right before the eyes of Moses and all the people, as everyone was weeping at the entrance to the tabernacle. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, and the grandson of Aaron the priest saw this, he jumped up and left the assembly. He took a spear and rushed after the man into his tent. Phinehas thrust the spear all the way through the man's body and into the woman's stomach. So the plague against the Israelites was stopped, but not before 24,000 people had died. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Phinehas, son of Eleazar, and grandson of Aaron the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites by being as zealous among them as I was. So I stopped destroying all Israel as I had intended to do in my zealous anger. Now tell them that I am making my special covenant of peace with him. In this covenant I will give him and his descendants as a permanent right to the priesthood, for in his zeal for me, his God, he purified the people of Israel, making them right with me." The Israelite man killed with the Midianite woman was named Zimri, son of Salu, the leader of the family of the tribe of Simeon. The woman's name was Cosbi. She was the daughter of Zur, the leader of a Midianite clan. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Attack the Midianites and destroy them, because they assaulted you with deceit and tricked you into worshipping Baal of Peor, and because of Cosbi, the daughter of a Midianite leader, who was killed at the time of the plague because of what happened at Peor." After the plague had ended, the Lord said to Moses and to Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, "From the whole community of Israel, record the names of all the warriors by their families. List all the men 20 years old or older who are able to go to war." So there on the plains of Moab, beside the Jordan River, across from Jericho, Moses and Eleazar the priest issued these instructions to the leaders of Israel: "List all the men of Israel 20 years of old or older, just as the Lord commanded Moses. This is the record of all the descendants of Israel who came out of Egypt." The tribe of Reuben. These were the clans descended from the sons of Reuben, Jacob's oldest son: the Hanoshite clan, named after their ancestor Hanok; the Palluite clan, named after their ancestor Pallu; the Hezronite clan, named after their ancestor Hezron; the Carmite clan, named after their ancestor Carmi. These were the clans of Reuben. Their registered troops numbered 43,730. Pallu was the ancestor of Eliab, and Eliab was the father of Nemiel, Dathan, and Abiram. This Dathan and Abiram are the same community leaders who conspired with Korah against Moses and Aaron, rebelling against the Lord. But the earth opened up its mouth and swallowed them with Korah, and the fire devoured 250 of their followers. This served as a warning to the entire nation of Israel. However, the sons of Korah did not die that day. The tribe of Simeon. These were the clans descended from the sons of Simeon: the Jemuelite clan, named after their ancestor Jemuel; the Jaminite clan, named after their ancestor Jamin; the Jachinite clan, named after their ancestor Jachin; the Zohorite clan, named after their ancestor Zohar; the Shaulite clan, named after their ancestor Shaul. These are the clans of Simeon. Their registered troops numbered 22,200. These are the clans descended from the sons of Gad: the Zephonite clan, named after their ancestor Zephon; the Haggite clan, named after their ancestor Haggi; the Shunite clan, named after their ancestor Shuni; the Oznite clan, named after their ancestor Ozni; the Erite clan, named after their ancestor Eri; the Arodite clan, named after their ancestor Arodi; the Arielite clan, named after their ancestor Areli. These are the clans of Gad. Their registered troops numbered 40,500. Judah had two sons, and Onan, who died in the land of Canaan. These are the clans descended from Judah's surviving sons: the Shelonite clan, named after their ancestor Shelah; the Perizzite clan, named after their ancestor Perez; the Zerite clan, named after their ancestor Zerah. These are the sub-clans descended from the Perizzites: The Hezronites, named after their ancestor Hezron. The Hamulites, named after their ancestor Hamul. These are the clans of Judah. Their registered troops numbered 76,500. These are the clans descended from the sons of Issachar. The Tolalite clan, named after their ancestor Tola. The Puite clan, named after their ancestor Pua. The Jashubite clan, named after their ancestor Jashub. The Shimronite clan, named after their ancestor Shimron. These are the clans of Issachar. The registered troops numbered 64,300. These are the clans descended from the sons of Zebulun. The Saradite clan, named after their ancestor Sarad. The Elonite clan, named after their ancestor Elon. The Jahilite clan, named after their ancestor Jaleel. These are the clans of Zebulun. Their registered troops numbered 60,500. Two clans were descended from Joseph through Manasseh and Ephraim. These are the clans descended from Manasseh. The Machirite clan, named after their ancestor Machir. The Gileadite clan, named after their ancestor Gilead, Machir's son. These are the subclans descended from the Gileadites. The Lezerites, named after their ancestor Lezer. The Helikites, named after their ancestor Helik. The Asrielites, named after their ancestor Asriel. The Shechemites, named after their ancestor Shechem. The Shemidites, named after their ancestor Shemida. The Hepherites, named after their ancestor Hepher. One of Hepher's sons, Zolophad, had no sons, but his daughters' names were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These are the clans of Manasseh. Their registered troops numbered 52,700. These are the clans descended from the sons of Ephraim. The Shuttelite clan, named after their ancestor Shutelah. The Becherite clan, named after their ancestor Becher. The Tahanite clan, named after their ancestor Tahan. This was the subclan descended from the Shiladite clans. The Aaronites, named after their ancestor Aaron. These are the clans of Ephraim. Their registered troops numbered 32,500. These clans of Manasseh and Ephraim were all descendants of Joseph. These are the clans descended from the sons of Benjamin. The Belaite clan, named after their ancestor Bela. The Ashbelite clan, named after their ancestor Ashbel. The Ahiramite clan, named after their ancestor Ahiram. The Shuphamite clan, named after their ancestor Shopham. The Huphamite clan, named after their ancestor Hupham. These are the subclans descended from the Belaites. The Ardites, named after their ancestor Ard. The Namites, named after their ancestor Naaman. These are the tribes of Benjamin. Their registered troops numbered 45,600. These are the clans descended from the sons of Dan. The Shuhamite clan, named after their ancestor Shuham. These are the Shuhamite clans of Dan. Their registered troops were numbered 64,400. These are the clans descended from the sons of Asher. The Imnite clan, named after their ancestor Imnah. The Ishvite clan, named after their ancestor Ishri. The Berite clan, named after their ancestor Beriah. These are the subclans descended from the Berites. The Heberites, named after their ancestor Heber. The Machalites, named after their ancestor Machleel. Asher also had a daughter named Sarah. These are the clans of Asher. Their registered troops numbered 53,400. These are the clans descended from the sons of Naphtali. The Jazilite clan, named after their ancestor Jazeel. The Gunite clan, named after their ancestor Guni. The Jezerite clan, named after their ancestor Jezer. The Shilamite clan, named after their ancestor Shillam. These are the clans of Naphtali. The registered troops numbered 45,400. In summary, the registered troops of all Israel numbered 601,730. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Divide the land among the tribes, and distribute the grants of land in proportion to the tribes' populations, as indicated by the number of names on the list. Give the larger tribes more land, and the smaller tribes less land, each group receiving a grant in proportion to the size of its population. But you must assign the land by lot, and give land to each ancestral tribe according to the number of names on the list. Each grant of land must be assigned by a lot among the larger and smaller tribal groups." This is the record of the Levites who were counted according to their clans. The Gershonite clan, named after their ancestor Gershon. The Kohathite clan, named after their ancestor Kohath. And the Merarite clan, named after their ancestor Merari. The Libnites and the Hebronites and the Malites and the Mushites and the Kohorites were all subclans of the Levites. Now Kohath was the ancestor of Amram, and Amram's wife was named Jochebed. She was also a descendant of Levi, born among the Levites in the land of Egypt. Amram and Jochebed became the parents of Aaron, Moses, and their sister Miriam. To Aaron were born Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died when they burned before the Lord the wrong kind of fire, different than he had commanded. The men from the Levite clans who were 1 month old or older numbered 23,000. But the Levites were not included in the registration of the rest of the people of Israel because they were not given an allotment of land when it was divided among the Israelites. So these are the results of the registration of the people of Israel as conducted by Moses and Eleazar the priest on the plains of Moab beside the Jordan River across from Jericho. Not one person on this list had been among those listed in the previous registration taken by Moses and Aaron in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord had said to them, "They will all die in the wilderness. Not one of them survived except Caleb son of Jephunneh and Joshua son of Nun." One day a petition was presented by the daughters of Zelophehad, Mahiah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. Their father, Zelophehad, was a descendant of Hefer the son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph. These women stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the tribal leaders, and the entire community at the entrance of the tabernacle. "Our father died in the wilderness," they said. "He was not among Korah's followers who rebelled against the Lord. He died because of his own sin, but he had no sons. Why should the name of our father disappear from his clan just because he had no sons? Give us property along with the rest of our relatives." So Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord replied to Moses, "The claim of the daughters of Zelophehad is illegitimate. You must give them a grant of land along with their father's relatives. Assign them the property that would have been given to their father. And give the following instructions to the people of Israel. If a man dies and has no son, then give his inheritance to his daughters, and if he has no daughter either, transfer his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, give his inheritance to his father's brothers. But if his father has no brothers, give his inheritance to the nearest relative in his clan. This is a legal requirement for the people of Israel, just as the Lord has commanded Moses." One day the Lord said to Moses, "Climb one of the mountains east of the river, and look out over the land I have given the people of Israel. After you have seen it, you will die like your brother Aaron, for you both rebelled against my instructions in the wilderness of Zin. When the people of Israel rebelled, you failed to demonstrate my holiness to them at the waters. These are the waters of Meribah and Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin." Then Moses said to the Lord, "O Lord, you are the God who gives breath to all creatures. Please appoint a new man as leader for the community. Give them someone who will guide them wherever they go and will lead them into battle, so the community of the Lord will not be like sheep without a shepherd." The Lord replied, "Take Joshua the son of Nun, who has the Spirit in him, and lay your hands on him. Present him to Eleazar the priest before the whole community and publicly commission him to lead the people. Transfer some of your authority to him so the whole community of Israel will obey him. When direction from the Lord is needed, Joshua will stand before Eleazar the priest, who will use the Urim, one of the sacred lots cast before the Lord, to determine his will. This will show Joshua and the rest of the community of Israel will determine everything they should do." So Moses did as the Lord commanded. He presented Joshua to Eleazar the priest and the whole community. Moses laid his hands on him and commissioned him to lead the people, just as the Lord had commanded through Moses. The Lord said to Moses, "Give these instructions to the people of Israel. The offerings you present as special gifts are a pleasing aroma to me. They are my food. See to it that they are brought to me at the appointed times and offered according to my instruction. Say to the people, 'This is the special gift you must present to the Lord as your daily burnt offering. You must offer 2 one-year-old male lambs with no defects. Sacrifice 1 lamb in the morning and the other in the evening. With each lamb you must offer a grain offering of 2 quarts of choice flour, mixed with 1 quart of pure oil of pressed olives. This is the regular burnt offering instituted in Mount Sinai as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Along with it you must present the proper liquid offering of 1 quart of alcoholic drink with each lamb, poured out in the holy place as an offering to the Lord. Offer the second lamb in the evening with the same grain offering and liquid offering. It, too, is a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. On the Sabbath day, sacrifice 2 one-year-old male lambs with no defects. They must be accompanied by a grain offering of 4 quarts of choice flour moistened with olive oil and a liquid offering. This is the burnt offering to be presented each Sabbath day, in addition to the regular burnt offering and its accompanying liquid offering. On the first day of each month, present an extra burnt offering to the Lord of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These must be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts with each bull, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each lamb. This burnt offering will be a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. You must also present a liquid offering with each sacrifice, 2 quarts of wine for each bull, a third of a gallon for the ram, and 1 quart for each lamb. Present this monthly burnt offering on the first day of each month throughout the year. On the first day of each month, you must also gather 1 male goat for a sin offering to the Lord. This is in addition to the regular burnt offering and its accompanying liquid offering. On the 14th day of the first month, you must celebrate the Lord's Passover. On the following day, the 15th day of the month, a joyous 7-day festival will begin. But no bread made with yeast may be eaten. The first day of the festival will be an official day for Holy Assembly, and no ordinary work may be done on that day. As a special gift, you must present a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These will be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with each bull, 4 quarts with 1 ram, and 2 quarts with each of the 7 lambs. And you must also offer a male goat as a sin offering to purify yourselves and make yourselves right before the Lord. Present these offerings in addition to your regular morning burnt offering. On each of the 7 days of the festival, this is how you must prepare the food offering that is presented as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. These will be offered in addition to the regular burnt offerings and liquid offerings. The 7th day of the festival will be another official day for Holy Assembly, and no more ordinary work may be done on that day. At the festival of harvest, when you present the first of your new grain to the Lord, you must call an official day for the Holy Assembly, and you may do no ordinary work on that day. Present a special burnt offering on that day as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It will consist of 2 male bulls, 1 ram, and 7-year-old male lambs. These will be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with each bull, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each of the 7 lambs. Also offer 1 male goat to purify yourselves and make yourselves right with the Lord. Prepare these special burnt offerings along with the liquid offerings. Oh, lost my place there for a second. Prepare these special burnt offerings along with their liquid offerings in addition to the regular burnt offering and its accompanying grain offering. Be sure that all the animals that you sacrifice have no defects. Celebrate the Festival of Trumpets each year on the first day of the appointed month in the early autumn. You must call an official day for a holy assembly, and you may do no ordinary work. On that day you must present a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It will consist of 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These must be accompanied by grain offerings of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts with the bull, 4 quarts with the ram, and 2 quarts with each of the 7 lambs. In addition, you must sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering to purify yourselves and make yourselves right with the Lord. These special sacrifices are in addition to your regular monthly and daily burnt offerings, and they must be given with the prescribed grain offerings and liquid offerings. These offerings are given as a special gift to the Lord, a pleasing aroma to Him. 10 days later, on the 10th day of the same month, you must call another holy assembly. On that day, the Day of Atonement, the people must go without food and must do no ordinary work. You must present a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It will consist of 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. These offerings must be accompanied by the prescribed grain offerings of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts of choice flour with the bull, 4 quarts of choice flour with the ram, and 2 quarts of choice flour with each of the 7 lambs. You must also sacrifice 1 male goat for a sin offering. This is in addition to the sin offering of atonement and the regular daily burnt offering with its grain offerings and their accompanying liquid offerings. 5 days later, on the 15th day of the same month, you must call another holy assembly of all the people, and you may do no ordinary work on that day. It is the beginning of the Festival of Shelters, the 7-day festival to the Lord. On the first day of the festival, you must present a burnt offering as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It will consist of 13 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings must be accompanied by a grain offering of choice flour moistened with olive oil, 6 quarts for each of the 13 bulls, 4 quarts for each of the 2 rams, and 2 quarts for each of the 14 lambs. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the second day of this seventh-day festival, sacrifice 12 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the third day of the festival, sacrifice 11 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain and liquid offering. On the fourth day of the festival, sacrifice 10 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls and rams must be accompanied with its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also make a sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the fifth day of the festival, sacrifice 9 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the sixth day of the festival, sacrifice 8 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice a male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the seventh day of the festival, sacrifice 7 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings of bulls, rams, and lambs must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. On the 8th day of the festival, proclaim another holy day. You must do no ordinary work on that day. You must present a burnt offering as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It will consist of 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 one-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. Each of these offerings must be accompanied by its prescribed grain offering and liquid offering. You must also sacrifice 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its accompanying grain offering and liquid offering. You must present these offerings to the Lord at your annual festivals. They are in addition to the sacrifices and offerings you present in connection with vows or as voluntary offerings, burnt offerings, grain offerings, liquid offerings, or peace offerings. So Moses gave all these instructions to the people of Israel as the Lord had commanded him. Then Moses summoned the leaders of the tribes of Israel and told them, "This is what the Lord has commanded. A man who makes a vow to the Lord or makes a pledge under oath must never break it. He must do exactly what he said he would do. If a young woman takes a vow to the Lord or a pledge under oath while she is still living in her father's home, and her father hears of the vow or pledge and does not object to it, then all her vows and pledges will stand. But if her father refuses to let her fulfill the vow or pledge on the day he hears of it, then all her vows and pledges will become invalid. The Lord will forgive her because her father would not let her fulfill them. Now suppose a young woman makes a vow or binds herself with an impulsive pledge and later marries. If her husband learns of her vow or pledge and does not object on the day he hears of it, her vows and pledges will stand. But if her husband refuses to accept her vow or impulsive pledge on the day he hears of it, he nullifies her commitments, and the Lord will forgive her. If, however, a woman is a widow or is divorced, she must fulfill all her vows and pledges. But suppose a woman is married and living in her husband's home when she makes a vow or binds herself with a pledge. If her husband hears of it and does not object to it, her vow or pledge will stand. But if her husband refuses to accept it on the day he hears of it, her vow or pledge will be nullified and the Lord will forgive her. So her husband may either confirm or nullify any vows or pledges she makes to deny herself. But if he does not object to it the day he hears of it, then he has agreed to all her vows and pledges. If he waits more than a day and then tries to nullify a vow or pledge, he will be punished for her guilt. These are the regulations the Lord gave Moses concerning relationships between a man and his wife, and between a father and a young daughter who still lives at home. Then the Lord said to Moses, "On behalf of the people of Israel, take revenge on the Midianites for leading them into idolatry. After that, you will die and join your ancestors." So Moses said to the people, "Choose some men and arm them to fight in the Lord's war of revenge against Midian. From each day of the tribe of Israel, send 1,000 men into battle." From each tribe of Israel, send 1,000, I'm sorry. So they chose 1,000 men from each of the tribes of Israel, a total of 12,000 men armed for battle. Then Moses sent them out, 1,000 men from each tribe, and Phinehas son of Eleazar the priest led them into battle. They carried along the holy objects of the sanctuary and the trumpets for sounding the charge. They attacked Midian as the Lord had commanded Moses, and they killed all the men. All 5 of the Midianite kings, Evi, Rakem, Zor, Hor, and Reba, died in the battle. They also killed Balaam son of Beor with the sword. Then the Israelite army captured the Midianite women and children and seized their cattle and flocks and all their wealth as plunder. They burned all the towns and villages where the Midianites lived. After they had gathered the plunder and captives, both people and animals, they brought them all to Moses and Eleazar the priest and to the whole community of Israel, which was camped on the plains of Moab beside the Jordan River across from Jericho. Moses, Eleazar the priest, and all the leaders of the community went to meet them outside the camp. But Moses was furious with all the generals and captains who had returned from the battle. "Why have you let all the women live?" he demanded. "These are the very ones who followed Balaam's advice and caused the people of Israel to rebel against the Lord at Mount Peor. They are the ones who caused the plague to strike the Lord's people. So kill all the boys and all the women who have had intercourse with a man. Only the young girls who are virgins may live. You may keep them for yourselves. And all of you who have killed anyone or touched a dead body must stay outside the camp for 7 days. You must purify yourselves and your captives on the 3rd and 7th days. Purify all your clothing too, and everything made of leather, goat hair, or wood." Then Eleazar the priest said to the men who were in the battle, "The Lord has given Moses this legal requirement. Anything made of gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, or lead must be passed through fire in order to be made ceremonially pure. These metal objects must be further purified with the water of purification, but everything that burns must be purified by water alone. On the 7th day you must wash your clothes and be purified. Then you may return to the camp." And the Lord said to Moses, "You and Eleazar the priest and the family leaders of each tribe are to make a list of all the plunder taken in the battle, including the people and animals. Then divide the plunder into 2 parts, and give half to the men who fought the battle and half to the rest of the people. From the army's portion, first give the Lord his share of the plunder, 1 of every 500 of the prisoners and his cattle, donkeys, sheep, and goats. Give this share of the army's half to Eleazar the priest as an offering to the Lord. From the half that belongs to the people of Israel, take 1 of every 50 of the prisoners and of the cattle, donkeys, sheep, and goats, and other animals. Give this share to the Levites who are in charge of maintaining the Lord's tabernacle." So Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord had commanded Moses. The plunder remaining from everything the fighting men had taken totaled 675,000 sheep and goats, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 3,200 virgin girls. That's 32,000 virgin girls, not 3,200, 32,000. Half of the plunder was given to the fighting men. It totaled 337,500 sheep and goats, of which 675 were the Lord's share, 36,000 cattle, of which 72 were the Lord's share, 30,500 donkeys, of which 61 were the Lord's share, and 16,000 virgin girls, of whom 32 were the Lord's share. Moses gave all the Lord's share to Eleazar the priest, just as the Lord had directed him. Half of the plunder belonged to the people of Israel, and Moses separated from the other half belonging to the fighting men. It totaled 337,500 sheep and goats, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 virgin girls. From the half share given to the people, Moses took 1 of every 50 prisoners and animals and gave them to the Levites, who maintained the Lord's tabernacle. All this was done as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then all the generals and captains came to Moses and said, "We, your servants, have accounted for all the men who went out into battle under our command. Not one of us is missing. So we are presenting the items of gold, we captured as an offering to the Lord for our share of the plunder. Armbands, bracelets, rings, earrings, and necklaces. This will purify our lives before the Lord and make us right with Him." So Moses and the leaders of the priests received the gold from all the military commanders, all kinds of jewelry and crafted objects. In all, the gold that the generals and captains presented as a gift to the Lord weighed about 420 pounds. All the fighting men had taken some of the plunder for themselves. So Moses and the leaders of the priests accepted the gifts from the generals and captains and brought the gold to the tabernacle as a reminder to the Lord that the people of Israel belonged to Him. The tribes of Reuben and Gad owned vast numbers of livestock. So when they saw the lands of Jazer and Gilead were ideally suited for their flocks and herds, they came to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the other leaders of the community. They said, "Notice the towns of Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Elalah, Sibmah, Nebo, and beyond. The Lord has conquered this whole area for the community of Israel, and it is ideally suited for all of our livestock. If we have found favor with you, please let us have this land as our property instead of giving us land across the Jordan River." "Do you intend to stay here while your brothers go across and do all the fighting?" Moses asked the men of Gad and Reuben. "Why do you want to discourage the rest of the people of Israel from going across to the land the Lord has given them? Your ancestors did the same thing when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. After they went up to the valley of Eshcol and explored the land, they discouraged the people of Israel from entering the land the Lord was giving them. Then the Lord was very angry with them, and He vowed, 'Of all those I rescued from Egypt, not one who is 20 years old or older will ever see the land I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for they have not obeyed me wholeheartedly. The only exceptions are Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, for they have wholeheartedly followed the Lord.' The Lord was angry with Israel and made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years, until the entire generation that sinned in the Lord's sight had died. But here you are, a brood of sinners, doing exactly the same thing. You are making the Lord even angrier with Israel. If you turn away from Him like this and He abandons them again in the wilderness, you will be responsible for destroying the entire nation." But they approached Moses and said, "We simply want to build pens for our livestock and fortified towns for our wives and children. Then we will arm ourselves and lead our fellow Israelites into battle until we have brought them safely to their land. Meanwhile, our families will stay in the fortified towns we build here, so they will be safe from any attacks by the local people. We will not return to our homes until all the people of Israel have received their portions of land. For we do not claim any of the land on the other side of the Jordan. We would rather live here on the east side and accept this as our grant of land." Then Moses said, "If you keep your word and arm yourselves for the Lord battles, and if you troops cross the Jordan and keep fighting until the Lord has driven out His enemies, then you may return when the Lord has conquered the land. You will have fulfilled your duty to the Lord and the rest of the people of Israel. And the land on the east side of the Jordan will be your property from the Lord. But if you fail to keep your word, then you will have sinned against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will find you out. Go ahead and build towns for your families and pens for your flocks, but do everything you have promised." Then the men of Gad and Reuben replied, "We, your servants, will follow your instructions exactly. Our children, wives, flocks, and cattle will stay here in the towns of Gilead. But all who are able to bear arms will cross over to fight with the Lord, just as you have said." So Moses gave orders to Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the leaders of the clans of Israel. He said, "The men of Gad and Reuben who are armed for battle must cross the Jordan with you to fight for the Lord. If they do, give them the land of Gilead as their property, and when the land is conquered. But if they refuse to arm themselves and cross over with you, then they must accept the land with you, the rest of you, in the land of Canaan." The tribes of Gad and Reuben said again, "We are your servants, and we will do what the Lord has commanded. We will cross the Jordan into Canaan, fully armed to fight for the Lord. But our property will be here on this side of the Jordan." So Moses assigned land to the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph. He gave them the territory of King Sihon of the Amorites, and the land of King Og of Bashan, the whole land with its cities and surrounding lands. The descendants of Gad built towns in Dibon, Ataroth, Eror, Atroth-Sophon, Jazer, Jogbehah, and Beth Nimrah, and Beth Horon. These were all fortified towns with pens for their livestock. The descendants of Reuben built the towns of Heshbon, Elelel, Kirithaim, Nebo, Balaam, and Sibmah. They changed the names of some of the towns they conquered and rebuilt. Then the descendants of Machir of the tribe of Manasseh went to Gilead and conquered it, and they drove out the Amorites living there. So Moses gave Gilead to the Machirites, descendants of Manasseh, and they settled there. The people of Jair, another clan of the tribe of Manasseh, captured many of the towns in Gilead and changed the name of that region to the towns of Jair. Meanwhile, a man named Nobath captured the town of Kenath and its surrounding villages, and renamed the area Nobah after himself. This is the route the Israelites followed as they marched out of Egypt under the Lord and Moses. This is the route the Israelites followed as they marched out of Egypt under the leadership of Moses and Aaron. At the Lord's direction, Moses kept a written record of their progress. These are the stages of their march, identified by the different places where they stopped along the way. They set out from the city of Ramses in early spring on the 15th day of the first month, on the morning after the first Passover celebration. The people of Israel left defiantly, in full view of all the Egyptians. Meanwhile, the Egyptians were burying all their firstborn sons whom the Lord had killed the night before. The Lord had defeated the gods of Egypt that night with great acts of judgment. After leaving Ramses, the Israelites set up camp at Succoth. Then they left Succoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. They left Etham and turned back towards Pi-Haroth, opposite Baal-Zephon, and camped near Migdol. Then they left Pi-Haroth and crossed the Red Sea into the wilderness beyond. Then they traveled for 3 days into the Etham wilderness and camped at Marah. They left Marah and camped at Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees. They left Elim and camped beside the Red Sea. They left the Red Sea and camped in the wilderness of Sin. They left the wilderness of Sin and camped at Dopka. They left Dopka and camped at Elush. They left Elush and camped at Rephidim. There was no water for the people to drink. They left Rephidim and camped in the wilderness of Sinai. They left the wilderness of Sinai and camped at Kibroth Hattava. They left Kibroth Hattava and camped at Hazeroth. They left Hazeroth and camped at Ritmah. They left Rithmah and camped at Ramon Perez. They left Ramon Perez and camped at Libnah. They left Libnah and camped at Rissa. They left at Rissa and camped at Kehelatath. They left Kehelatath and camped at Mount Sephar. They left Mount Sephar and camped at Harada. They left Harada and camped at Makaloth. They left Makaloth and camped at Tatath. They left Tatath and camped at Terah. They left Terah and camped at Mitka. They left Mitka and camped at Hashmonah. They left Hashmonah and camped at Mazroth. They left Mazroth and camped at Benajakan. They left Benajakan and camped at Horhaggadad. They left Horhaggadad and camped at Jabbathath. They left Jabbatha and camped at Ebrona. They left Ebrona and camped at Ezion-Geber. They left at Ezion-Geber and camped at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. They left Kadesh and camped at Mount Hor at the border of Edom. While they were at the foot of Mount Hor, Aaron the priest was directed by the Lord to go up onto the mountain, and there he died. This happened in midsummer, on the first day of the 5th month of the 40th year after Israel's departure from Egypt. Aaron was 123 years old when he died there on Mount Hor. At that time the Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in the Negev in the land of Canaan, heard the people of Israel approaching his land. Meanwhile, the Israelites had left Mount Hor and camped at Zalmonah. They left Zalmonah and camped at Punon. They left Punon and camped at Oboth. They left Oboth and camped at Ai-Abarim on the border of Moab. They left Ai-Abarim and camped at Dibon-Gad. They left Dibon-Gad and camped at Almon-Diblathaim. They left Almon-Diblathaim and camped in the mountains of the East River, near Mount Nebo. They left the mountains of the East River and camped on the plains of Moab beside the Jordan River across from Jericho. Along the Jordan River they camped from Beth Jeshimoth as far as the meadows of Acacia on the plains of Moab. While there they camped near the Jordan River on the plains of Moab opposite Jericho. The Lord said to Moses, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you cross the Jordan River into the land of Canaan, you must drive out all the people living there. You must destroy all their carved and molten images and demolish all their pagan shrines. Take possession of the land and settle in it, because I have given it to you to occupy. You must distribute the land among the clans by sacred lot and in proportion to their size. A larger portion of land will be allotted to each of the larger clans, and a smaller portion will be allotted to each of the smaller clans. The decision of the sacred lot is final. In this way, the portions of the land will be divided among your ancestral tribes. But if you fail to drive out the people who live in the land, those who remain will be like splinters in your eyes and thorns in your sides. They will harass you in the land where you live, and I will do to you what I plan to do to them." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Give these instructions to the Israelites. When you come into the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as your special possession, these will be the boundaries. The southern portion of your country will extend from the wilderness of Zin along the edge of Edom. The southern boundary will begin on the east at the Dead Sea. It will then run past the Scorpion Pass in the direction of Zin. Its southernmost point will be Kadesh Barnea, from which it will go to Hazar Adar and on to Asmon. From Asmon, the boundary will turn toward the brook of Egypt and end at the Mediterranean Sea. Your western boundary will be the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. Your northern boundary will begin at the Mediterranean Sea and run east to Mount Hor, then to Lebo Hamath, and on through Zedad and Zephron to Hazar Enan. This will be your northern boundary. The eastern boundary will start at Hazaron and run west to Shephem, then down to Riblah on the east side of Ain. From there the boundary will run down along the eastern edge of the Sea of Galilee, and then along the Jordan River to the Dead Sea. These are the boundaries of your land." Then Moses told the Israelites, "This territory is your homeland, and you are to divide among yourselves by sacred lot. The Lord has commanded that the land be divided among the 9.5 remaining tribes. The families in the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have already received their grants of land on the east side of the Jordan River, across from Jericho toward the sunrise." And the Lord said to Moses, "Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun are the men designated to divide the grants of land among the people. Enlist one leader from each of the tribes to help them with the task." These are the tribes and the names of the leaders: Judah, Caleb son of Jephunneh; Simeon, Shemuel son of Ammihud; Benjamin, Eladad son of Kislon; Dan, Buki son of Jogli; Manasseh son of Joseph, Haniel son of Epod; Ephraim son of Joseph, Kemuel the son of Shipton; Zebulun, Elizaphan son of Parnak; Issachar, Paltiel son of Azan; Asher, Ahihud son of Shalomi; and Naphtali is Pedel son of Ammihud. These are the men the Lord has appointed to divide the grants of land in Canaan among the Israelites. While Israel was camped beside the Jordan on the plains of Moab across from Jericho, the Lord said to Moses, "Command the people of Israel to give to the Levites from their property certain towns to live in, along with the surrounding pasture lands. These towns will be for the Levites to live in, and the surrounding lands will provide pasture for their cattle, flocks, and other livestock. The pasture land assigned to the Levites around these towns will extend 1,500 feet from the town walls in every direction. Measure off 3,000 feet outside the town walls in every direction, east, south, west, north, the town at the center. This area will serve as the larger pasture land for the town. 6 of the towns you give the Levites will be cities of refuge, where a person who has accidentally killed someone can flee for safety. In addition, give them 42 other towns. In all, 48 towns with the surrounding pasture land will be given to the Levites. These towns will come from the property of the people of Israel. The larger tribes will give more towns to the Levites, while the smaller tribes will give fewer. Each tribe will give property in proportion to the size of its land." The Lord said to Moses, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, designate cities of refuge to which people can flee if they have killed someone accidentally. These cities will be places of protection from a dead person's relatives who want to avenge their death. The slayer must not be put to death before being tried by the community. Designate 6 cities of refuge for yourself, 3 on the east side of the Jordan River, and 3 on the west in the land of Canaan. These cities are for the protection of the Israelites, foreigners living among you, and traveling merchants. Anyone who accidentally kills someone may flee there for safety. But if someone strikes and kills another person with a piece of iron, it is murder, and the murderer must be executed. Or if someone with a stone in his hand strikes and kills another person, it is murder, and the murderer must be put to death. Or if someone strikes and kills another person with a wooden object, it is murder, and the murderer must be put to death. The victim's nearest relative is responsible for putting the murderer to death. When they meet, the avenger must put the murderer to death. So if someone hates another person and pushes him, or throws a dangerous object at him and he dies, it is murder. Or if someone hates another person and hits him with a fist and he dies, it is murder. In such cases, the avenger must put the murderer to death when they meet. But suppose someone pushes another person without having shown previous hostility, or throws something that unintentionally hits another person, or accidentally drops a huge stone on someone though they were not enemies and the person dies. If this should happen, the community must follow these regulations in making a judgment between the slayer and the avenger, the victim's nearest relative. The community must protect the slayer from the avenger and must escort the slayer back to live in the city of refuge in which he fled. There he must remain until the death of the high priest who was anointed with the sacred oil. But if the slayer ever leaves the limits of the city of refuge, and the avenger finds out him outside the city and kills him, it will not be considered murder. The slayer should have stayed inside the city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer may return to his own property. These are legal requirements for you to observe from generation to generation, wherever you may live. All murderers must be put to death, but only if evidence is presented by more than one witness. No one may be put to death under the testimony of only one witness. Also, you must never accept a ransom payment for the life of someone judged guilty of murder and subject to execution. Murderers must always be put to death. And never accept a ransom payment for someone who has fled to a city of refuge, allowing a slayer to return to his property before the death of the high priest. This will ensure that the land where you live will not be polluted, for murder pollutes the land. And no sacrifice except the execution of the murderer can purify the land from murder. You must not defile the land where you live, for I live there myself. I am the Lord, who lives among the people of Israel. Then the heads of the clans of Gilead, descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph, came to Moses and the family leaders of Israel with a petition. They said, Sir, the Lord instructed you to divide the land by sacred lot among the people of Israel. You were told by the Lord to give grant of land owned by our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. But if they marry men from another tribe, their grants of land will go with them into the tribe in which they marry. In this way, the total area of our tribal land will be reduced. Then, when the year of Jubilee comes, their portion of land will be added to that of the new tribe, causing it to be lost forever to our ancestral tribe. So Moses gave the Israelites this command from the Lord. The claim of the men of the tribe of Joseph is legitimate. This is what the Lord commands concerning the daughters of Zelophehad. Let them marry anyone they like, as long as it is within their own ancestral tribe. None of the territorial land may pass from tribe to tribe, for all the land given to each tribe must remain with the tribe as it was first allotted. The daughters throughout the tribes of Israel who are in line to inherit property must marry within their tribe, so that all the Israelites will keep their ancestral property. No grant of land may pass from one tribe to another. Each tribe of Israel must keep its allotted portion of the land. The daughters of Zelophehad did as the Lord commanded Moses. Mahlah, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Noah all married cousins on their father's side. They married into the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. Thus their inheritance of land remained with their ancestral tribe. These are the commands and regulations that the Lord gave to the people of Israel through Moses while they were camped on the plains of Moab, beside the Jordan River, across from Jericho. So that is the conclusion of the book of Numbers. Not much to say on this one. Very much like the book of Leviticus before it. God handed down a lot of laws here and decrees, and again, there was a lot of instruction on the animal sacrifices and the grain offerings and the sin offerings and the festivals of the Lord. Again, it was very much like Leviticus. Something to remember is that in Hebrew, in the original language, all these books were connected by the word "and." So this is originally one very extremely long story. The books that we have in the Bible being divided up, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and the little, the names and divisions, these were not part of the original text. This was originally one very long scroll, and the books were connected again by the word "and." So I just wanted to point that out, that the Bible as we have it now was not as they seen it in the old days. It was one long scroll. So it's all one story. It's called the Five Books of Moses, the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, all written by Moses. And you can say, how do you know it's written by Moses? Well, it says right there in the text 100 times. It says, as commanded, as the Lord commanded Moses. And you see that there's several times in the text that it said the Lord commanded him to write this down, or Moses wrote this down. And in the book of Joshua that we're coming up on, it'll say Joshua wrote this down, and it says the Ark of the Covenant contained the laws as written by Moses. So there's no doubts to Mosaic authorship. Moses definitely wrote it, and it's even written in the text that he wrote it. Archaeology has shown these texts to be very, very accurate to the times. Descriptions of the desert, descriptions of the land of Canaan and its people, the descriptions of Egypt, the descriptions of the way things were done back then, and the similar laws around other counties and cities and stuff. So that's it. And right here, just before we're ending, God said, "You must not defile the land where you live, for I live there myself." A lot of people that I speak to talk about the laws. Oh, that's so harsh, Back then, all these things were punishable by death. So if someone is a murderer must be murdered. Is what it says. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The adulterer is murdered. Homosexual is murdered. Put to death. And again, God says right here, "You must not defile this land, for I live there myself. I am the Lord who lives among the people of Israel." So God literally lived with these people. He lived above the Ark of the Covenant in the tabernacle. And that's why it was just intolerable for these people to live in sin. And again, the Canaanites, where he's leading them to this land, these people lived in horrible sin. It's worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. These people were having sex with animals, with each other. They were burning their children in the shrine to the god Molech. They're just horrible people. And so, before God sent the Israelites into this land, he had to make sure that they were worthy, that they weren't going to go in there and do the same thing. Otherwise, he'd just be wasting his time. So, enough. I could babble to you all day. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you next time, and we begin the book of Deuteronomy and in the Torah. Thank you.